Should have put my coffee down first on that one. All right, and then Christina, I'm just going to ask for you to handle the admit buttons moving forward for us, so that I can have this conversation with Julia. So Julia, I'm switching over to speaker view so that it's just me and you. You could set it up to however you want. But I want to first do an intro, and then I'll come back here. So guys, joining us today is Julia Gaffney. Julia is a member of the ALC out of the Wayne office. Julia did approximately 20 million in production, originated last year. And Julia has over the years built an incredibly strong, well, she first built an incredibly strong single agent business and then transitioned it recently over to a team, right? That's something that we've been working on together to implement the pieces needed to now start to scale that out. But for those of you who are just joining us, mid last year, we always did 2 masterminds per month. This year, we're going to continue the same. The first mastermind of every month is going to be geared towards single agent, which of course is applicable to anybody who's on a team. But I want to make sure that we don't get in too much into team building in the first one, so that we really make sure that we have content for everybody looking to grow their business from jump all the way to high production. And then the second mastermind of the month is going to be focused on team building. And this month, later this month, on the 24th, I'm going to have Vanessa Paulak joining us. She runs a team that does over 100 million. She's level 7, so she's out of production. She's built this team in an incredibly short period of time in the big picture. She focuses a ton on culture and creating that magnet to draw other people to her team. So that's my shameless plug to make sure that everybody who's plugged in here today also plugs back into us on the 24th for the team building mastermind as well. So I'm going to get started here with Julia, and we're going to pick Julia's brain. It's going to be the first part of this is going to be just me and Julia having a conversation about her business, what she did as a single agent to gain the market share that she did. And then I'm going to open it up to all of you guys in the chat box for anybody who has specific questions based upon what Julia shares. Feel free. I want this to operate like a true mastermind. So if you think of something along the way, just write it down and hold it. At the end, we're going to open it up for a little Q&A. So Julia, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
All right, awesome. I thought you would be. Okay, so let us know, Julia. I'm gonna jump right in super deep because we don't have a lot of time in the get to know each other phase of this mastermind. From the beginning of your career to today, social media was a really big part, right, of how you've built your business, and you had a little philosophy built in there, like what you were aiming to be perceived as. Can you take a little bit here and just explain to the agents here, both newbies, right, and agents that have been doing this a long time that feel like they might want to polish up or maybe tweak the message that they're sharing on social media?
Yep.
How important has that been to you? What's the message, and what you did as a single agent to drive that?
So, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. This is really quite amazing, all these people. So when I started 8 years ago, Facebook was definitely a thing. And I was on Facebook for personal reasons. And I realized really early on that nobody was going to promote me the way that I could promote myself. And I didn't have a whole lot of money. So Facebook was free. So I went on to Facebook and I made posts about real estate, but I also there's some personal posts as well. And then I got my business page. So I have 2 different Facebook pages. And what I did to build the audience was I kept on asking people to be friends with me on Facebook, and I didn't know who they were. They were friends of friends of friends. And so I have about 5,000 people that I'm friends with on Facebook. And the reason why I do that is because when I put something, and I have different groups, I have close friends, I have friends, and then I have the public view. And the public view, of course, everybody could see it, but my 5,000 closest friends who have no idea who they are, when I put something on Facebook, they see it. And the reason how I get them to see it now, jumping forward, 8 years, is I have a client care specialist, and I'll get into that a little bit more, who goes on to my Facebook page every day and wishes anywhere from 15 to 30 people happy birthday. So I like to engage with everybody so they could see my posts. So I started with Facebook early on, and I wanted to be the knowledge broker. I wanted to be the person who knew what was going on in the market where I worked. But of course, I had friends all over the country at this point that I don't know 90% of them, but I've made friends because of this, and I've gotten a lot of business from Facebook, a lot of business. So it's free, it's easy. You just got to get out of your comfort zone.
So let's dive into a couple of those topics a little bit deeper. You said that you wanted to be the knowledge broker, right? What does that mean? And did that influence what you put out there to the community?
So when I say I want to be the knowledge broker, I want people to be able to say, oh, I have a question about real estate. Let me text Julia. Let me give her a call. Let me send her a DM, a private message. I have always opened that up to everybody, because when they are talking about real estate to somebody and they're like, oh, I need an agent, I want my name to spill out of their mouth. That's my goal. Is Bill had said it once before, people can name 2 dentists, their dentist and maybe another one that they know of. Same thing with real estate. I want to be number 1 or 2. And I want people to feel comfortable and trust me that I'm giving them the right information. So some of the information that I put out is the market updates, what's going on. I'm really big into the absorption rate. I think that's a really good number for people to know and understand. And it really zeroes in on a specific town. I know what the absorption rate is for the town that I live in and the surrounding towns almost daily, because that's a good number. That number is going to help you price homes, let your buyers know how competitive the market is, and how to work with them in a competitive market. So I want them to come to me with any questions about real estate. That's to me being a knowledge broker.
Nice. So I would take it that it would be an important factor, guys, as we listen to Julia here. I always try to read a little deeper in, and a lot of people I know just have real sporadic social media presence aimed in a ton of different directions. And I think that's okay, right? In some respect, but to have an underlying mission in how you approach who you're going to be on social media is what's going to really resonate with people. So you're not sending a million different messages. There was a time where just posting every house you sold was highly effective, right? It's not anymore. Everybody's doing that. Sometimes it's overkill. People are posting, all kinds of stuff. And that noise, that amount of noise sets the stage for someone to stand out clearly because they have a different kind of message. So Julia approaches her social media, and has for quite a while, with the intention of being the person they go to for the detailed information on the market, that they're comfortable, right, picking up the phone and reaching out or sending you a message on there directly or indirectly. And I think that that purposeful nature of approaching social media is really important. You might not have done this, but taking what you said, I'm going to suggest that everybody on this call, being the beginning of the year, give yourself some real thought as to who are you on social media from a real estate perspective, and who are you looking to be, and allow that to align with the content that you put out, so that it's not so scattered, and that you have a message that really begins to resonate there. You also mentioned Facebook groups. So you set it up to close friends, and then public. You want to just talk to us a little bit how you manage that part? Sean
Sure.
is big on Facebook groups too.
Yeah.
And I'd be interested to hear that.
So I only have 3 groups. You can have multiple groups. You could have church groups. You could have school groups. You could have, I just keep it to close friends, and public. So if I'm putting something about a birthday, whatever, my birthday, whatever, I'll put it just to close friends. I will put personal stuff out there for everybody to see, but it's not a lot. I definitely pepper it in with real estate. It's really important to come across on any social media as, being authentic. You don't want to try and be somebody you're not. You want people to be able to approach you and in the grocery store and say, hey, I see you all over social media, and get that person that they're seeing. Like I don't try and make something different than what I am. It's 100% who I am that I put out there on social media. And there's since I started 8 years ago, there's Instagram, there's Instagram Reels, there's Facebook Live, there's Facebook, I think there's Facebook Reels, but you want to come up with a schedule on how you're going to post, to be consistent about it. Don't just post every 2 weeks. Be consistent. If you're going to post 4 times a week, find that time that you're going to post and do it. So people are expecting it. And so they know, oh, she's coming on tonight. She's I'm starting this new thing called Ask the Realtor on Tuesday nights. I wanted to start it in December, but we all got COVID and that was not happening. I was not going on that, but so that, and when I go on Facebook, when I do a Facebook Live, it's when I'm in one of my new listings, when I'm right at the beginning of an open house, I'm there with the photographer, and I promote the product, and I let people know what's happening. I'm starting to do more video, which this is completely out of my comfort zone. So 2022 is the year of the video for me. I will be putting stuff on social media almost daily, a video. And the way that I'm doing that is I'm backing up, like I'm making a whole bunch of videos in one day. And then I have my marketing specialist that's going to put them out at certain times during the day. We have a whole calendar that we're working off of. But again, authentic, who you are, what you're trying to. I mean, real estate to me has always been a 4-letter word, and it's help. It's just help people. I'm here to help people, and I get a real joy out of that. And so.
That's great. And staying in front of them is important. You mentioned before, we both said we're going to get into this a little bit more, a client care coordinator who I know is immensely helpful to you and your business.
Yep.
Some of you guys may have caught that who are more savvy in the social media world, and some may have missed it, in that all of the engagement in the messages back and forth now increase the visibility of your future posts, right? Like those which you interact with are now going to be seeing the future posts. So that's almost like a fishing rod, right? And you're utilizing that to continuously pull people back into your algorithm. So that part's really cool. Do you do and again, look, nothing is right or wrong here. There's a million ways to build a real estate business, which is what makes it so fascinating. Okay, let's come at it this way. Social media is a database, right? I mean, it really is. It functions as one. There's different ways we can do it. Do you have a separate database that you run as well, like where you connect with people, you track all of your stuff? And
I do.
Okay, so
I do.
Maybe just tell us a minute or two about how that works.
Sure. So I just back to my client care specialist. Not only does she goes onto Facebook for me every day. My marketing specialist does all platforms of social media, YouTube, Instagram Reels, all that. The other thing that my client care specialist does is she sends out anniversary cards, birthday cards. If somebody passes away, she sends out congratulations on your new dog, congratulations on your new baby. Thank you for working with us. You're a great client. So And how I found my client care specialist, she's one of my closest friends. She is amazing at writing cards. She's always the one that sends out, like, she's the Hallmark card lady. So she does that for me, and she has the whole list of all my past clients, and she plugs into that every day. And anytime an anniversary or a birthday or whatever is coming up, she sends out a greeting card. And the database that I do use Command. I will move my opportunities into Command once they become an opportunity. But on the other side, I use Follow Up Boss, and everybody's in there. And I could send out mass emails. I could send out mass videos. I could send out text messages. So I keep in touch with my my clients that way. Anybody that's in my database. So I have a lot. And then my team puts them in too. So we're always touching. It's so important to constantly touch the people that you've worked with, the people that you're working with, and your future people that you're working with, because it can come from anywhere. So.
Gene Rivers, I always quote him. I love that guy as a real estate trainer. We're going to have him in person this spring, God willing. He always says, look, selling more real estate is really easy. Just talk to more people and talk to more people about real estate, right? The math is super simple, but what you've done is you've leveraged it in a bunch of different areas, right? So you have a client care coordinator who is touching a bunch of people, having communication in some way that's not only impactful, but it's different than everybody else, right? It's not just sitting in the inbox like the majority of people are. So I like that. That's going to help you stand out. And then you utilize a CRM to have a natural tempo-based touch there. And then you do the same on social media. So we have 3 different systems here, all working in conjunction. And you're not doing most of it, right? Like,
no.
What would your year last? So you did 20 million last year. What would your year look like emotionally if you had to do all of those things? If you did all of them?
So I will tell you what it looked like. It was an SHIT show. So during the pandemic, I had nobody, and I was. At one point I had 17 under contract, and I was losing my mind, and I was losing business. And it was flipping me out. I just did not like that. And so, I've had a coach for 3 years now, and I highly recommend coaching, but she was on me. You need to hire a transaction coordinator. So I hired, one moved away. She's sitting here. Now she's an agent. The other I had to fire very quickly because it was not working. And then I landed
She's not on here, right?
What's that?
I said she's not on here, right?
I don't know if Whitney's on here. I gave her the link, but she was a past client, and I knew while working with her, she's the one. And I offered her a job before her house closed, and she said, absolutely. So when I leveraged somebody to help me with the paperwork, and then all the other things, then I can go out and do what I love to do. I have to stay in my lane. I'm not the best at paperwork. I do it, but I don't like to do it. So I had to find people that were going to help me, and I could stay in my lane and do what I love doing. And I went quickly from, in 2020, I think I had 12 million in sales. I just hit gold. And this year I had a little bit over 20 million. So that leveraging, that piece, the three team members that I hired, huge, absolutely huge.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. Here's the fun part for you guys. That was also a year that Julia switched brokerages. right? So you switched companies at the beginning of the year. Most people have in their mind, when I switch a brokerage, I'm going to lose business, right? But if you have the right plan in place, that's not the case. You and I have been working really closely in that transition to ramp that stuff up. And I remember the day you had that 17 under contract, which was a number you'd never seen before, right? That was really early in you getting here, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing, because we put these systems in place to really generate things, but we didn't have the system in place to handle the under contracts, and that's where you ended up plugging that transaction coordinator in, which was a game changer, for us too. Mm-hmm. So I'm gonna take that path, and we're gonna split that in two separate directions. So the first part, I'd like for you to look, for a lot of agents on this call and a lot of teams on this call, rainmakers, people running teams, there is so much fear built around the hiring process to commit to somebody and say, okay, here's what I'm going to pay you, and look at that number in an annual sense without knowing what the return is to the business. It's scary, right? Especially if it's the first one. So you've kind of tiptoed into that, right? Like, you didn't wake up one morning and say, hey, I'm going to hire, a client care coordinator, a transaction coordinator, and just all this. As business increased, you felt the pressure and then moved, which is good. It's a red light, green light. But early on, did you just hire a full-time person out of the gate? Did you work part-time? How did you transition from this, hey, I'm an agent by myself, I need some help, but I'm not really feeling ready for a full-time person? And what did that transition look like?
So I did play around with working with other agents, because I had so much business even before the pandemic that I needed help. And so I did work with some agents, and they did their paperwork. I did my paperwork. But my transaction coordinator is part-time. She's not full-time. There may be a time where she will go full-time, and we've had that conversation. I know what I want my organization to look like, because that's basically what it is. I mean, we won't go into the teams, but I hired her part-time, and I never looked back. It's the best money I ever spent. And then same thing with my client care specialist. And I just hired a part-time 20 hours a week marketing specialist. So with the program that you guys recommended, Cyberbacker. Right. So she's going to be helping me do all that social media. She already is. I mean, I keep on getting notifications that people are watching my reel. I don't even know what reel it is. She just started, but it's nice to know that I could go out and show homes or go on listing presentations and not feel completely stressed because I'm going to come home to, 10 more things that I have to do. So yeah, it's a big jump. It's a risk, but if you're not risking, if you keep not getting out of your comfort zone, I mean, that's just how I kind of roll, like if it's uncomfortable at first, I have a feeling it's going to work, so yeah.
And as long as you have a measurable in place, like your exposure is really a couple weeks. That's what it is. If it's not working, yeah, that can be a challenging conversation, but it's not, if you're talking about 20 grand for a year for somebody in a Cyberbacker or something, it's really not that, right? It's really what it's costing you per month, and that you're going to have the ability to measure that's impact on your business before you commit to quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. Mm-hmm. And then when you feel that, there's an addiction that takes place. You become addicted to leverage, right? Because now you realize you can only do so much. And when you try to do too much, it ends up getting in its own way. One of the things I love about working with you is you're creative in a sense that you're always looking at other things, right? Things that are working in other people's business, but that your instinct, at least as I read it, is to double down on what's working best for you now, right? Like those personal connections were working well, so we doubled down, and we got the client care coordinator who's going even deeper on that. And a lot of agents in today's world are constantly shifting from one thing to another, and they're always looking for the next excitable thing to add to their business so it looks unique and different. And the truth is, when we study top agents and their business, the majority of their business, like 80-90% of their business, usually only comes from 1 or 2 lead sources, right? And those are the ones that they hyper focus on, and they have only 1 or 2 little, fringe pieces hanging on there. So it's great to be creative, but you don't want the whole business to be creative. Get in it, right, and get deep like you have. So I'm going to touch on one more topic and subject, and then I'm going to let you share anything that you feel everybody, might want to know from your journey. Really, what I would consider for our area, mastering that single agent role prior to your transition to a team. And then we're going to open it up to the chat box for people to ask you specific questions on what you've done, right? Yep. You mentioned before coaching and that you're a real fan of coaching. I'm gonna take it one step further and say that a lot of, if you're new to the business, it's important to hear new things. I always tell people that if you plug into a Zoom and they said the same stuff that you heard over and over before, that might be the most productive Zoom you've been on, because it's ingraining that in your mind, right? It's getting deeper and deeper. Studies show that you have to hear something 8 times before it becomes permanently part of us. In a world where a lot of people are constantly in search of, and I think some social media drives this, Instagram, you're looking for the next business tip. You read these books that just got business tips flying at you left and right. We're listening to Audible, we're listening to Blinkist and all of these things for stimulation in business, but the business might feel stagnant. We might not feel attraction. And to me, the biggest piece of that, and this is the part that I've been working on a lot with myself lately to double down here, is a word called self-discipline, right? So many of us, especially those who've been in the business a while, self-discipline is really the difference maker, right? It's about doing those same tasks over and over. It's about being the best version of yourself with what you know, not constantly trying to learn more things that we're not going to be able to be disciplined in those either. So it's going to end up having the ultimate same result, just spread over a more chaotic foundation. Self-discipline, vital. Accountability, vital. So you can just talk to that a little bit, because you can know everything that you know, but not apply it in the way that you apply it. And be maybe a quarter of the production that you are right now, and everything be a hot mess, right? Or an SHIT show like you mentioned before. So tell us a little bit about probably the most important thing anybody on this call can take home, and it's
absolutely.
And
it's funny. Those are the 2 key words. I wrote down some notes before this, and we get into real estate, whether we're a part-time agent or a full-time agent, but we get into real estate because we're our own bosses. We are the ones who are going to make things happen. There's not a boss over my shoulder telling me, Julia, you got to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do this. You have to be so you have to dig deep into what is your why. Why do you want this business? What is going to get you up out of bed every day and sitting at your desk at 10 o'clock in the morning, making those phone calls, sending out those emails on a friggin' cold, windy day like today, going out and showing houses? We don't want to do that. But when you become the agent that does the things that you don't want to do and other agents don't want to do, there's a whole lot of mindset behind that. And you're going to feel great about the job that you're doing. Yes, you are outside and it's 10 degrees and you're showing, but you're still doing it. Okay. You're still doing it. So you're your own boss, which is fabulous, but it can also be a double-edged sword. So you have to dig deep into what is your why. Why do you want this? And then with the love of real estate, you combine the 2 and it's like this winning combination. So in the beginning, I was a hot mess. I would, I'd be working on projects, trying different things. I was over here, the phone would ring, and everything that I was doing it would be gone. And I'd be talking on the phone. This person wants to see, I'm sending the listings now. And I was not intentional. I am very intentional in my time. I like to time block my time. I like to know if it's not on your calendar, then it shouldn't be happening. So it's really important to get a hold of your calendar and make it work for you. You know, if you're not, you know, if you like to go hiking like I do, what's the day that you're going to go hiking? You know, I like to go hiking on Sundays. I have open houses on Sundays, so I'll switch it to a Saturday. You got to do stuff that you love too, just to help you get past those days where you're tired. So, and so dig deep into your why. Find out what it is. And don't be afraid to come up with big reasons. Like your why is not big, and your why can't be too big. You know, I started off little. Now I have, you know, I told Bill, I'm putting it out there. I want a lake house. I want to be on the water. I know nothing about boats. I know nothing about lakes. I know nothing about snakes, but I want to be on that water. So you know, I have stuff that motivates me on a daily basis. So, and everybody should, because we're our own boss. We have to have that in order to get out in these days when it's, you know, like I said, 10 degrees or 100 degrees. And then, so once I tightened up my schedule and I hired a coach, which was a game changer. That was the biggest scary thing for me, because a coach is not cheap, but my business doubled in a year. I mean, so it paid for itself, and I still coach. I coach every week with my, and I'm accountable to her. And she calls me out if I'm not doing what I need to do. So accountability is huge. I have it right here. I started with this a couple of weeks ago, and this, I don't know, by 8 o'clock every morning, I'm ready to work. The Miracle Morning. I highly recommend that book. It gets you ready for your day. And Bill, what did you say the other day when I told you that I was reading it? It perpetuates how your day is going to go.
Yeah, it's momentum, right?
Momentum. Thank you.
Yeah, you
forgot that word.
If 7 o'clock hits and you've already created momentum, you've done all the things, that'll carry you. Sean Annan, I don't know if he's on here, but he said something years ago to me, which I thought was funny, that his coach told him. And he goes, the worst enemy of productivity is the snooze button, because you literally start your day procrastinating. And that's the mental state you're in. You're like, nah, I'm going to do that later. I'm going to do that later. And that's the momentum you have. A plane can't take off without momentum, right? And this is all the mindset piece. You say you can't win a battle against the world if you can't win the battle against your own mind first. Right?
Absolutely.
You need to get there. And for those of you on this call, that book, The Miracle Morning, is phenomenal. I'm actually in a group, 250 guys nationally. It's called Front Row Dads, great group. And Hal Elrod, the author of that book, is one of the members there. So that's something I read a long time ago, and I've tweaked his morning to work in alignment with mine. But that is a game changer. The morning, and then the accountability and the coaching is like, that's last. Everybody's like, when my business gets big, then I'm going to hire a coach because I can afford it. It's so opposite. And I challenge people, all of the big players in our game have coaches at some level, right? I have coaches in all different areas of my life. I have a personal financial coach. My wife and I are on a call with him once a month. We go through things. Been working with him for years to make sure there's a purpose to our money and drive, right? That goes there. Obviously the OP coach for the office. Can you imagine what your favorite sports team would look like? Not if they had a bad coach, but if they had no coach. And it's literally the same thing. Actually, it's worse sometimes for us, because those people in a professional sports setting, they're professional athletes. So if anybody should be able to pull this off, right? It's these people who have excelled their whole life. Imagine they don't have a coach. There's a reason they all do. And it's to get the best out of you, right? And I'm sure that helps with the accountability and the discipline. Because next Monday you got somebody to report to who's going to say, hey, this is what we talked about. Why isn't this getting done? Because sometimes our own, motivation or discipline isn't enough for that week. I always resisted accountability. I don't like to answer to anybody, and I
did a lot of thinking about that recently. I'm like, why don't I like to answer to anybody? And I'm like, that's kind of foolish, because accountability is going to get me freedom. And isn't that what we all want? It's kind of, we all want freedom. We all want that financial freedom, the personal freedom to go and come and do what you want. And so I do now have an accountability partner on this. I line somebody up and we text every morning now, like, I did it, I'm done, check mark. And it just feels good. It feels good to, so I have two accountability partners now, my coach and now my friend who's reading the book with me. So, but it's important. Like, we want to be able to, we're in this business for a reason. We like to make our own schedule. We like to, yes, the clients will drive it. But when you get to a certain level, you can you leverage your time, form a team, have agents that help you with the buyers, have agents that help you with open houses, and build your agents while you're, like, then you become a coach, helping your team. But yeah, so accountability is my new buzzword this year. And I'm not going to resist it anymore.
Tony Robbins said you have two paths, right? You have the pain of accountability, or the pain of discipline, or the path to regret. Those are the only two paths, because if you're not able to be disciplined, if you love that freedom too much, that will in most cases end up in some kind of regret, because you're not able to be the best version of who you are. And I'm not saying that everybody has to build a massive business. I mean, we can put this in any category, in health and fitness and you name it, right? If we completely skirt any kind of discipline or find the way that works for us, there's going to be some regret attached there. So I'm going to open this up, guys, to the group in the chat here. If anybody has any questions that they came up for Julia specifically on her business, while we wait for that, and I know sometimes it's a little slow in having some of those questions come out. Sometimes we don't get questions at all. So I've opened that door, but I'm going to continue the conversation, Julia, with you and I, as we continue to wait and see if anybody has anything specifically that they pop up there. So I want to take a step back a tiny bit to where we were talking about that first hire. If somebody came to you and said, hey, I feel like I'm really stretched out on my business right now, but I am afraid to make that hire. What, literally, you talking to me, what would you say to them having walked that path?
So it is scary, the first hire, and but I would never recommend letting it get to the point that it got to with me, where I was losing business because I didn't have somebody, like, and I don't like to lose business. So I've heard of agents that hire a transaction coordinator or an admin as soon as they become agents. And because they know that they don't like that paperwork, they don't like to do the paperwork. But if somebody, I would say, if you're struggling to hire somebody or not, start part-time, find somebody that you've worked with, find one of your clients that you found was really, really phenomenal, that kind of ran the show themselves. Basically they got it, they understood it. Offer them, see if they're interested in a part-time job, and then you come up with, the salary or the hourly wage. I pay an hourly wage and then a bonus on everything that closes. So whether it's part of what the team does now or what I do, I do pay a bonus on everything that closes. And when you have somebody good, you're going to do that because you do not want to lose them. So, but I think we are getting some questions.
Yeah, I'm gonna read through some of these. I just want to put a little caveat on there, and sure. And we have certainly explored that the same. Depending on how big someone is planning on growing the team and the business, when you're talking about bonus structure per closing, you have to take into consideration that number. beforehand, because if you set a bonus up of a couple $100 a transaction, and the next thing you know, the team's doing 300 transactions a year, right? That you're going to be paying 3 salaries to one individual that you need to scale out. So
Sure.
I agree with everything you say. I just want to put that out as a word of caution. People certainly want to look ahead at what's coming too as they plan that. So I'm going to chip through a couple of these questions for us. Follow Up Us it's a CRM, right? There's, you got Boomtown, you got Follow Up Us, Command, all of those different ones. So certainly feel free to take a peek at that too. I know a couple of our agents use Follow Up Us as well. What year in real estate did you do your first hire?
The year was 2020. I was an agent for 6 years. I waited way too long, but I did it. It was scary, it was definitely scary because I was helping pay for college for my twin boys. And so to take that money out, that was hard. But I like during the pandemic, right before I hired Whitney, I had these moments where I thought, either I'm going to implode or I'm going to curl up and and it's not that I didn't like real estate. I was just so overwhelmed. So,
and it's crazy because you were experiencing what most people dream, right?
Yeah.
So that's the crazy part is you were in the midst of what you had hoped for so long, and just this overwhelming boom in business, all of this business coming in. But in the moment, you're like, oh no, right? You probably could have planned that a little differently.
Yeah, definitely I could have.
All right. So we're going to walk through some of these questions rapid fire because I want to hit them. So don't cut it short. Make sure that you say whatever you need to say to address the question, but we'll see if we can chip through some of these. What are a few things that you do every morning to prepare or start your day? Okay.
So I don't hit the snooze button. I'll start right there. I get up at around 5:45, 6 o'clock. I pray or meditate. I read. I journal, which I've never done before. That's a pretty cool thing. Writing down what my intentions are for the day, writing down thoughts about what I'd like to do in the future. I mean, that's really powerful. I've never done that before. I've never kept a diary. So 10 minutes on each one. So, and then I visualize what it's going to look like, but not just in business, personally too, what it's going to look like when I'm 25 pounds lighter. These are the things that I think about, so I visualize. And then I do some affirmations, which is really kind of not my thing, but I'm learning how to do that. Exercise is part of it. And so those are the things that I do. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes. And I am dressed and ready to go by 8 o'clock in the morning. Now that has never happened before. So usually I'll roll out of bed prior to this, roll out of bed, make myself my cup of coffee, sit at my computer. And if I had no appointments, it would be noon and I'm still in my pajamas. I'm like, ruh-roh, this is not where I want to be. So I had to change some things and I'm glad that I did. So that's what I do.
Yeah, that's the momentum we were talking about.
And everybody's still sleeping. Nobody's up. It's dark out. It's nice. So
you have the ability to create your own energy every day, right? We hate to admit this because it sounds like really metaphysical, but we operate at a certain vibration, and the same person can step into a different state through those vibrations. When you start and prep your day a certain way, you step into that day at a certain level. When you kind of drag into it, you're showing up. You're literally showing up a different person. And honestly, in your conversations, it's going to attract different people. That's probably not the same productivity based people that you would attract otherwise. In what year did you hire a transaction broker, and was that your first hire?
Yes, Whitney was my first. Well, I had hired 2 other admins, transaction coordinators prior. Like I said, my one moved away and now she's an agent on my team. And then the other one I had to fire pretty quickly because it just wasn't working out. And then at that point I knew I was going to offer a job to Whitney. So that was like in 2020. And then about a year ago, I hired Kath to do my client care specialist. Now she's also going to run my client care events that when things open up, we're going to start doing maybe 2 of those a year. And then, because I've tried to in the past and COVID hit, I had to cancel. So I'll be running 2 events a year. And then my marketing specialist, she just went live on Monday. So she was training for 2 weeks. And then she just went live on Monday. So the interview process, I interviewed about 6 cyber backers that they're all from the Philippines. They're great. But I knew I feel very positive about the choice that I made. So she just got hired like within the last month.
And you said something a couple of times, guys, take this so impactfully. She hired somebody who was the wrong fit, and she had to get rid of them quickly, right? But what she didn't do was not hire somebody else. I hear that a lot. It's like, oh, I tried a VA, it didn't work. I'll never hire that again. Or I try to get somebody to delegate to, nobody can do it like I can, so I just do it anyway. And I asked people, like, imagine your first relationship didn't work out, which it didn't for most people. And then the response was, okay, I'll never get in any kind of relationship ever. It just doesn't work that way, right? Yeah. So we're meant to interview a bunch of people, find the right fit, and then, the magic starts to happen. So how much of your business is from referrals? How much your database? And how do you track those numbers? If you track those numbers.
I do track the numbers. So I would say a little bit more than half is referrals. I would say about 20 to 30% is social media, and then the database. So I do some lead gen. I don't do the Zillow anymore. I did for years. It helped me, but when I joined KW, I backed out of Zillow, and I was spending quite a bit with Zillow, and my business has not really taken a bump at all from not having Zillow leads anymore. It's just more money in my pocket that I could put in other areas of my business and focus. So so there's a lot of referrals. There's and the reason why we get referrals is because we white glove our clients. We love on them. We treat them like they are, they're our bread and butter. They are. So I don't care if they're nasty, we still white glove them,
Bonus. So back to the admin bonus. Is it a flat bonus or a percentage on the closing?
Flat. It's a flat, but no rentals.
Got it. I would advise highly against the percentage on the closing. I know that can be an appealing pull. If you're going to go down the road of bonusing on percentages, bonus on profit, right? Because you could find yourself in some paying out some big bonuses there. Yeah. in a position where even if the maybe you're not even profitable that quarter, you can't be held liable to pay out a huge bonus on that. So if you're going to go percentages, focus on profit rather than transaction based. What is your preferred lead generation method, Mrs. Gaffney?
So a lot of social media. I do, like I said, I get leads from social media, and I've been using Ylopo. It's this new, it works very closely with, it integrates very nicely, with Follow Up Boss. It took about 6.5 weeks to 7 weeks to get that up and running. We're still not even 100% on that. So we get leads so they're pulling leads from Facebook, and they're dumping them right into my Follow Up Boss. And when I get a lead, I click on one of my team members' names, and it goes directly to them, and then my team will take it and they'll run with it. So Ylopo right now, I do, it's called Real Estate Agents. They do post for me on Facebook. I get leads from that. And then small percentage of Dave Ramsey. I had to go through this whole training with Dave Ramsey. But that's where I'm getting them from, and it's keeping us busy. So it's working. So if something isn't working, I, give it a couple of months and then I move on. But if it's working, I stick with it. So I'll probably go a little bit deeper into YLOPO. Probably by March, I'll put more money towards it and get more leads. So, and Google My Business, you guys, is something everybody could do. I don't understand it 100%. That's why I hired somebody to do it. But Google My Business, you could put pictures on there, you could put videos on there. And if somebody's Googling you, your name is going to come up. So that's very elementary part of it. There's so much more involved in that I don't know, but that's part of one of my social media platforms is Google My Business.
Beautiful. Just taking some notes here myself. So Nazir, this is the last question we have. If anybody else has a question, throw it on out. He asked the morning routine, which I think you covered after he asked that, but he also asked, do you have any nighttime routines now to set you up for the next morning? What does that look like?
Well, I do. I mean, I take my vitamins and I get to bed by 10:30 every night, which was not what I was doing. I was getting 5-6 hours of sleep, and I survived on 5 or 6 hours of sleep. I just want to be able to wake up at 5:45 refreshed. So I'm in bed by 10:30 every night. Sometimes I will, my team will see that I'm sending out an email, but I try not to do that past a certain time, because I want to gear up for the next day. And I think about the other thing that I do is on my iPad is I write down my goals for the next day. So I write down what it is that I want to accomplish. And even, for the week or for the month, and then I'll throw in things like the lake house. I just like to keep on putting that in there. So
love it. Lewis had asked what the marketing company was. I did type that in above. It's YLOPO. If you just look up a couple, it's the letter Y and then LOPO. YLOPO.com should take you there. So we have a question from our new assistant team leader, not so new anymore, a couple weeks under her belt. Nalini, I'm going to ask you to hop on and ask Julia the question here that you were asking. Nalini joins us as a great support piece for our agents. She comes from a background of team building and hospitality in the corporate arena, spent some years working with Nike at a high level out on the West Coast, and just a phenomenal addition to our leadership team and helping our agents do what we're talking about here and transitioning from being a realtor, right, and grinding and working for commissions to a business owner that's experiencing more of a support foundationally based business that's going to pay us in profits. And those are two dynamically different roles. So Nalini, what you got? You had a question?
Yeah.
All right, fire away.
Yes, I did. Julia, first of all, I just want to say thank you for sharing all of your experience. Sorry if my Wi-Fi is lagging, I do apologize. But Julia, everything you've been sharing, it's been so authentic, and I really just appreciate you just leveling with everybody. And that's actually why I had a question more in terms of challenges, because I know sometimes agents who get to your level, everything looks great on the outside, but sometimes the most encouraging is your mindset on how you take on challenges. So my question to you was, going into 2022, is there a challenge that you're kind of anticipating? And I kind of wanted to hear your mindset on preparing for a challenge you know is coming, and how do you prepare systems? How do you break
I know we were
down, and what's your mindset on taking on a challenge that you're anticipating in this upcoming? Sorry, go ahead.
I think I got the gist of your question. So the way that I look at it, Bill said something earlier. I just want to be, and I try to be the best version of myself every day. I want to learn something new. And if there's so for me, the big challenge for me is video. My coach is like, you have to put video content out there. Do not like putting out video content. I don't like being in front of, I've resisted it for 2 years. I have. Occasionally I'll put something out there if my makeup is good, if my hair looks good, whatever. But the way that I'm challenging myself, excuse me, is if I want my business to grow. I want our team to grow. And my coach is telling me that this is what I need to do. This is what you need to do. You need to get out of your comfort zone and do it, and just do it. And so I have a big why. So that drives me. Anytime there's a challenge, excuse me, you have to like a pit bull, just clamp on to that why and don't let it go. Just hold on to it for your dear life. And that's what's going to get you through a lot of hard things, a lot of difficult clients, and the challenges that you're facing. Like if you're not feeling like uncomfortableness, you're not growing. If you want to grow, you have to step out of your comfort zone and put yourself out there.
A great answer, Julia. And that's why we start, like a lot of the agents and teams that I work with, we start with mission, right? What's the goal? What's the mission statement? What's the end goal? What motivates you? Once you have that why, it makes getting through that middle ground, that quicksand, much easier. Because if not, what's to stop you from just taking the easier route? I mean, that's human nature, right? Like why blast through this fiery wall? Well, because there's something really, really special there on the other side. So there's another quote I had here. It says, "We do today what they won't, so tomorrow we can accomplish what they can't." Right? And that's the key. You got to be willing to do things that other people won't in order to get to where perhaps some others can't. But the only way to do that is to have your eye focused past the problem on the end. So Nalini, great question, which set Julia up to kind of support us there. So we are down to our last question. And my dear friend Pedro, what would you say is the bread and butter of your business? Let's almost close it out with that. We'll close it out with that on the questions front. But what would you say, like bread and butter? If everything else is taken away, if I said, Julia, you can only do one thing this year for your business, what would it be? So relationships with your clients and my team members. It's so important to be yourself, authentic, and to let the people that you're working with know that they matter, they're important. Some of them want to feel like they're the only people that you're working with, and you'll kind of get the gist of those people and who they are. Some people just thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your time. Some people just want all of your time, and it's all about relationships. This business is a relationship business, whether you're, like I said, working with the leadership at KW, whether you're working with my team, who I absolutely adore and love, whether you're working with your clients, your buyers, your sellers, or very important, other agents. You want to be coachable, workable. You want people to like doing business with you. And so it's just a relationship business with everybody that you come in contact with. So that's, I think, the most important thing. To me, that's the most important thing, is people. The bread and butter is the connection across all boards. Pat Lowe, great answer. Another amazing agent out there saying the same thing, and giving agreement that week in the book. Guys, we're a minute over. I want to see, Julia, this flies. I want
have
to
fun. I could stay for more questions if you want, or send me a text or email, call me. I'm here for anybody that has any, if they, whatever, just call me. I'm here. I love it. You truly embrace what it means to have the collaborative environment, right? That we have from the minute you came here. You're open and willing to share. And that's what makes our brokerage so special. Both here in Sparta, connected as one. We have some Sparta folks on here. So thank you so much for taking the time to share, with us what you've done. Extremely, extremely applicable
purposeful, inspirational, right? And
thank you.
and motivational, all built into one. So Julia, thank you again. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot more. And guys, you got all these. I didn't even ask him to say thank you yet. Look at these thank yous in the chat box. We got a "you're amazing." So your
guys
is important. So thank you so much. And guys, this is an awesome start to our masterminds this year. Like I said, 2 weeks from today, same time, we're going to be doing a team building mastermind with Vanessa Pollack, and looking forward to seeing everybody. Everybody have a great day, a great week, and
bye everybody.
Happy
Thank you.
2022. See you.
Thank